This is going to be our tasting night, the coveted end of season event that we have. I'm going to turn the time over to Shelley. Shelley's got a little bit more information, or did Martin have a little bit more information for where we're going tonight? So.
Shelley has more
I don't see Mike here yet. Hopefully he'll be here, but we're going to start out with Cole Davis, and Cole's going to be talking about infused honey and honey flavoring and what the difference is and what to do with your honey. And so we will be doing that. If Mike gets here, he's going to be talking about candle making. And then after that, we are going to be doing elections. Do you guys want me to pass this around so that you can see the spots we need to fill? Or we will bring up the different things.
All spots are open.
And we will nominate people to fill those positions and vote on it. And that will be our 2024 board meeting. We will probably have a board meeting the first part of December, just so that we can plan that first quarter in 2024 and get things rolling. Just to let you know, you typically only have quarterly board meetings where we're all together, just to let you know time commitments. And then on assignments, some of them have different time commitments and constraints, like Cole and Kylie did Farm Field Days, and so twice a year the Utah Farm Bureau does Farm Field Days for second grader. And so Cole and Kylie were responsible for coordinating people to cover the stations for Farm Field Days and making sure all of that went smoothly, and they were the liaison with Utah Farm Bureau. And so, I don't know, how much time do you think you spent doing that?
Oh, it was maybe 10 hours, 10, 15 hours.
And that's counting when you went and did the time at
Mostly
the...
short phone calls and emails.
Yeah, so anyways, and so there's different people and everybody's got different talents, such as Daniel's got the talent with videography, and he's been our media coordinator and our Facebook coordinator, and that is something that he knows how to do and has the equipment to do it. So we appreciate everybody as we're coming together of using your talents to make us a better, stronger organization. So that's kind of what's going on. There's Mike, so he'll follow Cole. And then Janelle, did you want to talk quickly about Lee Knight?
Sure.
Okay.
Do you want me to do it right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I'll come to the front just so that then people don't have to
Yes.
turn around. So Lee Knight owns Knight Family Honey. He donates to BAB every year. It's a minimum of $600 donation this past year. In years past, last month he lost his 13-year-old son in an accident.
You're making me start crying.
I'm sorry.
Stop.
Yeah. So as an organization, if you'd like to, we're going to send a card with some money just to help. They had to life flight him and stuff, so I'm sure there's going to be some medical bills. They did have a GoFundMe, but we decided to give them just all the money instead of them losing some of it to the GoFundMe. So if you'd like to donate tonight, you're welcome to either give some to me or to Shelley, and we'll get them that. So they're doing relatively well, I think, but it's their youngest son. So anyway, somebody we've worked with for years, as long as I've been part of the organization, they've donated, and so we appreciate any support you guys want to give that way. So sorry for getting emotional. I have a little 13-year-old son too, so it's been it hit really close to home for me. So any questions? Okay.
Okay, Cole.
Oh, boy. Well, thanks for this opportunity, I think. I learned a lot trying to figure out this whole deal. And somebody, I think it was Martin on one of the meetings, mentioned that somebody went up to Washington or Oregon, and they saw Ron, I'm sorry. They saw some flavored honey, and I was kind of intrigued, so I kind of started digging into this a little bit. And I knew I was way in over my head. Now, I'm a bolts and nuts and gears guy, so the mechanical stuff I can do in the kitchen, nah, hard pass. I'm done. I'm out of the kitchen. So I relied on my lovely wife, Patty. She kind of bailed me out. My techie daughter Kylie did the PowerPoint and said, Dad, you're on your own. Sink or swim. So let's start this out. So my wife has a real hard, fast rule in the kitchen. That's it. So she's an old school cook. Measuring is not her style. So when it comes to this flavoring honey, just be cautious about what you're doing, and we'll describe that or get into that a little bit farther. So there's several different ways you can either flavor or infuse your honey. So let's start out with cold fusion. Obviously, this is the most popular method because it's very easy. You add a product, hot peppers comes to mind, habanero and chili peppers and whatnot. You let it marinate for several days or several weeks, depending on how strong the flavor you want with your honey. Now remember, when you choose your honey, if you have a really dark honey by nature, it's very hard to flavor because the flavor is so strong. But if you get the really light flavors or light colored honey, they flavor much better. So you want to, depend on the flavor transfer of the honey to meet your desired outcome, then you strain out any of the solids. And I've got a couple of samples here. So my wife bought a vanilla bean and she just scraped the vanilla bean and put it in the bottle, and I've got a couple of pictures that we'll talk about later. We also did a bottle of orange rind, and we found out after we put it in there we did it wrong. So obviously you can learn from your mistakes. So I started out I pulled out some old honey. It was a few years old and it had solidified. You can see on the left there. Even though it says cold infusion, you want to start with completely liquid honey. So I have a little, it's called a little dipper. It's for like eating cheese when you eat chips, and it fits a bottle just perfect, and it doesn't heat it too hot. So you want to stay under, depends on who you talk to, 104, 114, something like that. Then you start losing the qualities and the properties from your honey. So what we did is we started out with this vanilla bean. She split them open, and then she scraped the solids or the seeds out of the center and just scraped it off into the bottle. And we found out that if you put the seed or product in first and then top it off with honey, you don't run out of room. That was a hard lesson to learn. And obviously glass always works best because the plastic will absorb some of the flavor. What we also found out was things that have a very mild flavor don't infuse with very well. So we tried mango, and the honey just overpowers it. We tried things like pomegranate. You have to add so much to get the flavor that you're basically a 50-50 mix. It just really wasn't worth it. So here she's trying to get the vanilla bean to sink into the bottle. And so there's cold flavored. Now, we talked about cold infused. That's basically where a flavor in a product leaches out, transfers out to the honey. Then you basically pour it through a small strainer of some type. I'm thinking something like this. And you capture the solids and save the flavored honey. So we chose cold flavored because we're fortunate enough to have a freeze dryer. And we dried several different kinds of fruit from the farm, from the property there. And then we powdered it, and she just puts it in a coffee grinder. Just powders it up. You add that, let it set for a couple of weeks. One of the drawbacks is, depending on what you put in there, they have a tendency, the solids have a tendency to float. And so you constantly kind of have to stir it up before you use it, or it's going to be super, super strong on the top, a little weaker on the bottom. So that's the one disadvantage of cold flavored. That's where the traditional infused honey shines, is it doesn't separate like that, because it goes in, the flavor goes into the honey instead of adding. We found some ingredients work better. If you have a stronger flavor like jalapeno, the 3-pepper, the cinnamon, that really comes alive, and it doesn't take much. And I have the ratios that we made, and I printed those up, so we'll talk about those in a minute. So here we have blackberries, and the trick is you have to have them thoroughly dried. It doesn't matter whether you freeze dry them It doesn't matter whether you dehydrate them. It doesn't matter if you go to the store, to the spice aisle and just buy something from McCormick. Dry is the key. Because anytime you add something that you're trying to flavor and it has water in it, now you're risking mold or meat or some type of compromise with your honey. And we don't want to do that. So obviously you can see here, the coffee grinder still leaves some solids. So we went ahead and put it through the screen. And then what fell into the cup is what we flavored it with. And we only enhanced the texture or the flavor with bigger pieces if that's kind of something that we wanted. So the jalapeno, we flavored it with very fine powder, but then she kicked a few of the solids in just to give it a little bite every now and again. So this was the jalapeno powder. And these little containers I have up here on the table are about 1 1/4 ounces. So about 2 big tablespoons. And it took only 1/4 of a teaspoon of the jalapeno to flavor it. That goes a long ways.
So is that, you guys freeze-dried it?
That's those jalapenos.
Yeah,
right?
I can pass these
Oh,
around.
So did it just like overwhelm
No.
you to have the jalapeno freeze-dried?
A little bit
I
Yeah.
haven't done that yet.
You have to clean out your freeze jar with a little bit.
afterwards.
It does, it flavors everything. But anyway, so she pulled the core out and the seeds out and then just powdered the outer husk.
That's cool.
The shell. We found out that works. And here you can see in this corner here, she's scraping some of the solids off to give it a little bit more bite, a little bit more texture. And then you mix it up and it looks like something really bad from Halloween.
Some
But
good,
the flavor is awesome.
ooh, I bet it's so good with cream
All right.
cheese on crackers.
Yeah. So here we talked about, you can get flavors from the store, you can get them out of the bottles, they're kind of expensive. They also have them in, we didn't put that picture in. There was a section of Ziploc bags, and you can also get from like San Francisco Herb Company or San Francisco Spice. You can buy in bulk and it's fairly cheap, it's surprisingly cheap. So if you don't have a freeze dryer or don't have access to one, that is a really good second option. So these, I did a big, long internet search, and these are the flavors that I could come up with. I grab one and pass them around. These are all the flavors or flavor combinations that I could find. Now, this does not include any herbs. Herbs is a whole nother ball of wax altogether. That's when the weirdos start coming out of the woodwork. And I'm not talking weird bees, the weird people start coming out because, everything can be cured with some magic herb their great grandma had, whatever, blah, 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 whatever. We're not going to get into that. All right. So as you can see, some of these, so I've been passing this sheet around at work for like 2 months now. And I said, hey, vote for 6. I'm going to make about 6 samples, vote for 6. Whatever the 6 most popular ones are, that's what we're going to make. I threw that idea right out the window. So some of these, Heinz 57 sauce, I don't know, I'm not there yet. I haven't quite figured that out. Surprisingly enough, hibiscus. Hibiscus was a lot. Now, if you do a YouTube video search about infusing honey, you come up with like 6,000 hits. And about 4,000 of those are how to infuse honey with marijuana. If you're in Colorado, maybe, but here, no, we're not going to do that. You have to fish through the marijuana to get to the regular stuff. It was crazy. There's a bunch of druggies out there. Anyway, some of these were very popular with the guys at work, especially the strawberry, banana, the lemon was pretty popular. But you can see, it's only limited by your imagination. It's amazing how many combinations you can come up with. So heat infused. So we talked about cold infused, cold flavored, now heat infused. And this is pretty popular out there in the honey flavoring community. And obviously it's like cold fusion, but at elevated temperatures. But you can't use too much heat, obviously. 104 to 114, I'm going to guess about 116-ish degrees is about where your compromise point is. We found that flavored powders actually blend in cold honey better than warm honey, which was kind of surprising to me. The warm honey tended to make the powder clump together. Now that wasn't a hard, fast rule, but we found it to be a little problematic. So you can heat one of several different ways. You can microwave it, you can double boiler, just, you know, put it in the sun, put it in your Suburban, whatever. So the people at work, they couldn't realize the difference or couldn't differentiate between cold infused and cold flavored. So this is it. Infused, when the flavor is strong, the flavorants are strained out, leaving the honey relatively clear with little to no particles. Flavored appears to have bits and particles that provide the flavor to the honey. So the two that, and you're welcome to come up and try these when we're done here. The vanilla bean and the orange peel are the only two infused that we did. And we still haven't strained them because they're still coming through.
Do that while you're talking?
Yeah. She's gonna do some magic with that. So what we should have done, well, we peeled the orange. I think we're coming up here. Let me go fast forward this. So we peeled the orange. I don't know where we're working. Okay. And what happened was we should have dried the peels. We put the peels in wet. And after we did this, a couple of days later, I'm doing a little bit more research, and they're like, oh, if you just put the peels in raw without drying them, it has a tendency to make the honey more liquid. I was like, uh-oh, because the peels have water in it.
Right, pulls it.
And so now it's pulling water in, and I didn't realize it. So water's your enemy. We should have somehow dried the peels,
So
but I
you
didn't.
kind of see it's a little bit more fluid than most
Then it should
honey
be at this
is.
temperature.
And we'll just use it up fast. There's nothing wrong with it, it just wouldn't last for a really long time with that kind of moisture in it.
So, you know, we're thinking, if you're gonna give it away as a gift, you know, if you flavor it with peppermint or whatnot, that's always a possibility. All right, so here we'll move on just a little bit. Heat flavor. This, as well as the heat infused, is a process at higher than room temperature. It can be heated in a saucepan, double boiler, oven, microwave, but it's essential the temperature should not exceed about 105-ish degrees. And you can argue about that all day. Or the honey begins to lose what makes it beneficial in terms of health, pollen, enzymes, and antioxidants. But the risk of damaging the natural goodness of the honey is always present if you're working at the high end of your temperature. All right?
You can have this on the website. I can't copy that.
She's my tech nerd. Who does it? Daniel, did you do the Facebook page?
Daniel's videoing it.
Your video. Oh my
So
God. Nice get out of jail
on
free card.
the newsletter, the link to the video will be on there that you can click on and watch it.
To this video. All right, so there's also a large community out there that flavors with essential oils or extracts. The method is quite popular, but I worry about what makes the essential oils into a liquid form, because not all essential oils are just oil. And they don't put that on the label. Some are, some aren't. So is there a, there has
food quality.
Exactly, so he just hit the nail on the head. Not all essential oils are meant to be consumed. Some are for external use only. So if you're infusing honey with something that was not intended to be taken internally, that's gonna cause you a problem. And that's where the weirdos start coming out of the woodwork. Okay,
Cole, real quick,
yes,
with the essential oil stuff, I had a friend that was doing stuff for doTERRA. If you're gonna be using doTERRA, they're extremely watered down. His recommendation, if you're gonna be using essential oils, doTERRA is not the way to go.
right, I've heard that same thing. Okay, so right there, they're not meant to be consumed. And extracts introduce water into the equation. So if you want like a lemon extract or a maple extract or something strong like that, they always have to solvate it or liquefy it with some type of wet. And that, we don't want to introduce that. So stick with the dry, it takes a little bit longer. So you can, you know, some of these people try to flavor it and use it that day or the next day. This is like hurrying your girlfriend or wife with her makeup. You can be successful. It's not always beneficial to you to hurry that process along. All right. So flavor or infused honey lasts up to about a year, except my orange peel, but not much beyond that. So it makes great gifts for birthdays, holidays, or special occasions. It's not so great for long-term storage. So learn how to make it on your schedule. So this is the recipe that I came up with as well. Excuse me, okay, I is a strong word. This is a recipe that my wife came up with of what we have. So these containers on the table are about 2.5 tablespoons or 1.25 ounces. And these were the ratios that we used. You can see 4 tablespoons of blackberry and 1.5 ounces, because our blackberries are not like Oregon blackberries. Mine are kind of a semi-sweet, almost a tart. They make great jam, but you have to have a lot of sugar to it. We found the peach, pomegranate, and mango were just too weak. The concentrations had to be too high to get any flavor out of it. And you can see my honey is about the middle of the road. It's not super, super light, and it's not super, super dark. So we kind of hit that sweet spot right in the middle on this.
Wait, don't do it yet.
What? Pointer?
Just hang on. All right. All right.
I can put this in the Facebook group.
Okay.
She can download this to the
All right,
Facebook.
thank you.
All right, we're ready to move on? Okay, perfect. All right, so conversion-wise, this is just a conversion program. If you're gonna make a pint, that's how many milliliters of cc's, tablespoons, and ounces. That's just a chart to kind of help you understand. If you're gonna make a quart of this, you know, it's gonna be a lot. And if you're gonna make small bottles like so I bought a bunch of these little hex bottles, and that's kind of what I give out, you know, neighborhood gifts and taste samples for friends and whatnot, coworkers. And that is a 3-ounce bottle. All right, moving on. So that's the vanilla bean, and so from here on out, it's just all the pictures that I took, that downloaded, that Kylie chose from for the previous demonstration. So this is the soft underbelly of the process, maybe I should say. We found that cocoa went a long way. We put cocoa in and then had to add honey to throttle it back a little bit. It's just way too strong. This is the jalapeno in process. This was the cocoa.
Cinnamon.
Oh, cinnamon, sorry, cinnamon. And it looks more like mortar than honey. That was a little too much, we found out. I wasn't very good about sneaking up on it.
I'm thinking Texas Roadhouse rolls.
Oh, it's so good. The cinnamon one is one of my
Yeah.
favorites.
So this was the orange peel, and she just cut it up real fine over here, just little stringers of it. And then we just added it in. Oh, apparently that's the end of it. All right, any go backs? Do you have any questions?
What about just zesting the orange with a zester?
As long as you dry what you zest, yeah. And that would actually probably infuse faster. We actually talked about that, but I thought I was gonna step on your time.
Oh, no.
Good.
Have you, have you done all these?
Absolutely not. No.
So which one did you really like best?
You know, I'm not a pepper guy, because peppers just don't agree with me. I love peppers, but they do not like me. I actually like the jalapeno the best.
I think that would really be good on grilled chicken.
Yes.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
just thinking, my
Now,
mouth's
the
watering.
whole marinade thing just takes on a whole nother dimension if you can do this. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just had a question. When you're mixing it with fruit, is that dumping the honey flavor kind of make it taste more like jam, or is it still pretty definitively honey?
When we're done, you can come see for yourself. It doesn't taste like jam, because jam is very distinct, just sweet.
Yeah.
And this has a honey flavor to
Cool.
everything that is sweet. So it is a little different. I'll be interested to see your reaction.
Yeah.
All right, and Chris, did you wiggle down there?
I was gonna ask, with this, have you guys, with the oranges and certain things, have you tried grapefruit yet to see what a grapefruit would do?
No.
Lemon, we have lemon.
We
up
have
there.
lemon, but not grapefruit. Yes, she's very, you're right on the edge of asking a question, I can tell. Yeah.
I know, I totally am. Well, I was wondering, with your vanilla bean, do you strain it afterwards?
We
Are-
have,
are you-
we
have you
haven't
done it?
yet.
I
Okay.
just did.
Oh, she just
Just
did.
did.
Never mind.
I was wondering who brought the vanilla last year, 'cause somebody had vanilla. Was it
I
you?
did one.
Did it work
2
out?
years ago, and all I did was split the bean and drop it in there, and it fused wonderfully.
There you go.
Still has a wonderful vanilla.
3 years later. Awesome. That's great.
And you didn't have to freeze dry the bean because it's already
No.
dry, right?
Yeah, it's just right.
Yeah. Really? No questions?
I want to taste it.
You want to get to the tasting part? Give us 5 minutes, Mike, and we'll, come on up and let's have some tests. Come on.
I do want to taste it.
Yell out, what was your favorite flavor?
Jalapeno.
Vanilla.
I'm hearing a lot of lemons and a lot of jalapeno. What else? Vanilla. All right. So what flavor are you going to try at your place?
Raspberry. I got raspberry, so I'm going to try that.
The spices are from San Francisco Herb Company. That's where we buy our bulk spices. Now, I think my daughter Kylie, I think she's going to attempt to load this to the Facebook group page. So join that if you can. Okay, before I hand over to Mike, any other questions? Perfect. All right.
Thank you, Cole.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Ashley, my wife.
Yes, thank you, thank you.
Yes.
Very good.
Well, thank you. That was awesome.
You're welcome.
It was just.
More and more.
I don't now, right at the moment, because I kind of got out of it. That is a pretty one. I know.
Yeah, that's fine.
I will.
Good. So, I don't know how I wound up doing this, I really don't. Other than,
You're an expert.
I render my wax. So, this is roughly about a little over a pound of wax here.
This is a pound. And I make cheesecakes every freaking year. About this time, I gotta start. In fact, I was thinking about this today, going to start this. So I wind up with a ton of 3-pound cream cheese tubs. They work perfectly with my solar melter. So this is what's come out of my solar melter once I've run it through about 4 to 5 times. Something you need to be prepared for and know, if you're going to make candles, your wax needs to be clean. If it's not, it's going to have a lot of impurities and it won't burn right. The next thing that's about making candles, and again, I don't know exactly how I wound up doing it, but anyway, your wicks. This is a 60 ply and this is a 20 ply. When you come up, you're going to see this has a 60 ply in it. In this, basically, it's about a 4-inch candle, and it's only burning about 1.5 inches in the center. It's not burning right. I need a 5/0 wick on this, which is a much bigger, heavier wick. On this little owl that's on your way back, this is the 2/0 wick. It's burning pretty nice. This was about a 2-hour burn. When you come up, you can look at it, but it burned fairly evenly in that 2 hours. So your wick is really going to play a big role in how well the candle burns. If it's too small, it's just going to get a tunnel like this, which you don't want. If it's too big, you'll just have wax just rolling down the candle all over the place. So when you're warming, and this pan doesn't fit this, I need to either find a smaller one or use my other pan, which I usually use, but this doesn't fit down in there. But a double boiler of some sort that's sitting in water, you're going to want to have a little pitcher, aluminum pitcher that you can drop down in there, and just right in the neighborhood of a little less than a medium low on an electric stove is where I've been at. Temperature is going to be important, and I haven't gotten that dialed in on exactly. If Susie Goodspeed was here, which I tried to get her here to do this instead of me, she would be by far a better teacher, and she just knows candles like the back of her hand. So if you ever are really wanting to get serious, don't ask me, get a hold of Susie. She will give you a much better education than what I'm going. This is a very, very brief, elementary or preschool style, whatever, presentation. But this wick, it's not infused with wax, it's dry. So you want your wax hot enough that while the candle is cooling, it will impregnate the wick. And I believe that making it too hot also causes issues, and I don't know exactly what those are, so I'm not going to speak to it. I just think that it does have something to do with how everything comes together. So I've tried to keep things fairly cool, yet liquid enough, and what I've felt has been a good working. Anyway, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking. This is going to be more of come up, look at what I've got up here, ask questions. I do keep my molds upside down when I'm just kind of working with them. If I'm planning on doing candles, I keep them upside down, and that keeps the dust out of them. Once I'm done, I actually do put them back in their mold plastic bags. You'll notice rubber bands. This is an emergency candle. It's very slick, does not have any design or anything. So literally when the candle's cool, you can just, and it comes out enough that you can pull it out. I'm a construction guy, so I don't have bobby pins in my house. And I don't know what I would use any of them for anyway. Maybe my chest hair, I don't know. But I have tie wire for tying concrete, rebar. So I just tie this in a little knot. And I keep that tag on that pretty doggone small. And I use a piece of tie wire. Kind of tighten it down and draw it taut. You don't really want to get it too bent this way on the top, but you do want to have that wick centered in that candle mold at the base. Obviously, if you get that wick off, it's going to burn funky. So the other thing that I'll forewarn you is shrinkage, especially on, well, I was kind of careful with this candle. But when you come up, feel the bottom of it. You'll feel that it is kind of sunk down on the bottom. I don't know about those owls. This one's not too bad. But if you gotta be careful with them is all I'm saying, is just kind of watch what that concave will do. You may need to add a little bit more wax when it's hot. If it starts skimming over on top and it's too long, pouring more wax in on top of it's not really going to solve your problem of an uneven bottom. So, has anybody got any questions?
Where do you get your molds?
I've gotten these from Man Lake. This mold, which is the Nativity, was about 90 bucks. So they're not necessarily cheap. They're not necessarily really expensive if you consider all price, you know, if I were to start selling these. That candle has 36.5 ounces of wax in this candle. So over 2 pounds. So depending on how much wax you have, you might be 2 years before you have enough wax, or you might be a year before you have enough wax. Or you can, you know, buy it online. Man Lake does sell it. You know, there are different places you can buy it, but make sure that it is clean. So which means you may need to render it a couple times yourself on what you're buying.
Do you spray your mold? Like, 'cause I know some of them have sprays, or do you just?
This is a silicone based, at least the best I can derive is it is a silicone based spray. And so yes, it does help the candle release. I've forgotten and I've regretted it. Another thing is let your mold and candle cool down. Especially like on those owls, I was trying to crank them out a little bit too quick, and I was smashing the noses and smashing the ears. And if you actually you can kind of see on this candle here, and this is the reason I burned this candle, that when I was pulling it out, I smashed the feathers on the belly.
I think that's arson, burning evidence.
Right? You know? But, you know, I wound up just, because it was getting to be Halloween, I got 2 of the owl molds. I gave them out, you know, neighbors, friends, customers, whatever, what have you. So I just got into it just because I was bored.
So after you melt your wax, do you leave your molds in that pan there so that you don't have wax drips all over everywhere? Or what's your process when you're at home of?
Yeah, this is muy important, I'm sorry, glad you mentioned this. Parchment paper. Put parchment paper down where you're gonna be pouring the molds. If you wanna do it in an aluminum pan, you can, but I just spread out the parchment paper. Plan on having a paper towel in your hand, because you're gonna pour and you're gonna have a drip.
Did you get that from Man Lake, that
I
picture?
got this from Hobby Lobby.
Okay.
This came out of Hobby Lobby. And they do, Hobby Lobby does have a candle section. Threading your wicks is a little difficult. When I first got this needle from Man Lake, I was fighting getting even this fine, you know, it's not fine, but I was having a hard time getting this through that eyelet. So the brawn in me got a little ticked, and I went out with a screwdriver, and I thought, well, I'm gonna spread this out. I broke it. I snapped the eyelet. Man Lake was nice enough to send me a new one, but I bent the tip of this just enough that now I can go in and I can kind of fish it through. So I salvaged using it, but we had quite the little joke between the gal and that I was talking to at Man Lake, and ultimately it came back, well, you need to wet your wick. I'm like, excuse me? All right. So no pun intended, but wet the wick. It does help get it through that eyelet. This heavier wick it's still a pain in the butt to get through there. You really gotta kind of, it's actually gonna cooperate right now, isn't it? Maybe, maybe not. Yeah, I'm getting it. But just know, make a very clean cut on your wick, and then work with it. Maybe you're gonna need to, you know, get it a little bit wet to get it through there and pull it through, just like when you were sewing or doing anything else. But you can't really, don't plan on trying to widen that eyelet out, because it doesn't work. So, any other questions?
Did you use any scents or anything?
I have
in your
not
candles?
played around with that yet. No. This is just raw wax,
Just beeswax?
just plain beeswax.
Mike, I have a aluminum candle maker, mold rather, and one thing that's helped me, I don't know if it works with these or if you tried it, but I use the silicone spray, but then put it in the freezer when they're done, and that shrinks them a little bit, and then they come out
A little easier probably.
super easy that way.
Yeah, but that probably would work.
It helps if you preheat your mold.
How do you preheat your mold?
Well, we do a lot of adhesive casting at work, and we preheat everything. It helps your product flow. You won't get a cold shock. And you don't have to heat it hot, just warm.
Just run it through hot water.
Yeah, hot water bath.
How do you keep on, you know, let's say, not this one, but this one? How do you keep water out of it?
Well, you don't really have to heat it with water. You can put it out in the sun. You can set it in your melter, your solar melter, just cover it with a piece of foil so it doesn't take a direct hit.
Like a heating pad.
Yeah, the heating pad might work well.
Kitchen window in the sunshine.
Yeah, anything. And it doesn't take much. I mean,
Interesting.
it doesn't have to be very hot.
You're using aluminum mold,
Mhm.
and with these being, basically a silicone, plastic, rubber, whatever, they do have the split in the side. How are you working with that split? Or do you have a
Mine
split?
doesn't have a split, they're those candles like the old Pioneer style, the long.
So they're just a
They're
tapered or
Yeah,
an emergency
tapered.
candle? Yeah, because this one doesn't have,
Yeah.
this one doesn't have a split in it.
So mine, you do the wick between two, and so you have the wick as a handle to pull up the two, pull the two out, tapered,
Yeah.
but.
Like I said, I'm learning, so I don't know that I'm a vast wealth of information, but somebody asked me to talk about candles because she noticed I was playing around.
You're becoming quite the domestic.
Mike, just a plug that I remember from Susie teaching, just natural beeswax puts off good things into the air. Whereas like if you burn, paraffin wax, it's actually damaging to you, but if you burn
Yeah.
beeswax, it's actually beneficial to your health and it removes toxins from the air as it's burning. So, just if you want to get into it, it's some pretty
Who
cool,
knew?
pretty amazing things that it can do.
Yeah.
Just a simple, for the needle, I just got a wire hanger. You don't have a wire hanger, a little handle on the end of it. And to get them down through, wetting the wick like you talked about, I just get a little bit of beeswax. It's melted warm and just kind of pinch that onto the tip of the thread, the needle, and then it stays there as you push it down through.
Gotcha.
So.
Do you think that silicone spray that you add to the outside of the candles is toxic?
You don't want to vaporize it.
Yeah, you're not getting the mold soaking wet. You're just fogging it at best. As far as your ultimate question, is it going to be harmful? You're not eating it. Yeah, you're breathing it, but I don't know that there's going to be enough on the outside of that candle to really be causing much of an issue, at least my unscientific now.
You're at a higher risk of spraying it and breathing it.
Yeah,
I do that outside.
yeah.
Okay, let's take like 10 minutes, come up and you can see what Mike's got, and then we will, so at 8:10, and do voting and try and be out of here and do tasting and be out of here by 8:30. Okay?
Just so anybody knows, there'll be when you guys are here again with Tara.
Okay. You guys need to,
Do you want
explain
to show
what you're
us what you
doing.
have real quick?
Yeah. So, I'll start with a little backstory. We've been around beekeepers for a long time. Okay,
Go
right here.
for it, easier.
We've both been beekeepers for a long time. I mean, we grew up around bees and we're beekeepers ourselves now. I'm pretty surprised this is our first time hearing about this here, but we're grateful Peter J invited us down here even though he's not here today. But so our research project for this college semester has been helping bees through the winter. And this is kind of what we've come up with. It's been tested over the last 2 winters. I'm gonna let Taryn kind of explain a little bit of how it works.
Yeah, so basically, it works through convection. So this fits in between your 2 boxes. So beneath your top box, this black sheet of metal heats up, and then the air is guided through this mesh into the hive, and then rises as the cold air cycles out. So it's not our invention. There's a beekeeper in Spanish Fork that has used this, and then we kind of, as a project, we're making it more modern and easier to produce. So we made 30 of these, and we're trying to test them this winter. We have 30 in our car out there, and we're looking for beekeepers in the area that would be willing to help some students out and try our product for us. So if anybody is willing, we would.
And just so you guys know, like I
So tell me,
said,
so you've got your top lid.
yep.
And then it goes below your top lid.
It'll go below your, if you have a honey super on top, it'll go below your honey super.
So I've
it'll-
got my top lid.
Yeah.
I've got a candy board. I do have a box of honey, and then my bee box.
Yes, so it'd be going in between. Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Between the candy board and my honey.
Yep.
You want this sitting right below your highest box because that's where your bees will be spending most of their time, to my understanding. And this is where they'll be cycling all the heat.
So
So,
that doesn't prevent them from getting to the top box?
No,
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 no.
no, no. So
It's
as,
just
as
a
you can see, it's
spacer.
hollow here. This will just be an open spacer. The reason why this works really well is because it directs warm air into the hive.
Oh, so that's on the outside.
This is on
Yeah.
the
So
outside,
that
yes.
acts as a spacer.
yeah, sorry. If we had a box.
That's like a solar.
I understood that.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
we should have brought a bee box.
I'm just looking at the temperature,
Yeah.
like it's supposed to be 59-ish on Tuesday
Yes.
of this week.
Yep.
Otherwise, people aren't gonna really want to crack into their hives
Yep.
and have you that deep in their hives.
Yeah, so the goal is for us to get these out this weekend.
Yeah.
We have a lot of them on people's hives already. And so I guess we have about 10 or 12 units that we're still trying to get out on people's hives. Yes.
I'll take one.
Oh, sweet.
Sweet. Yeah, our inventor, the guy that's tested it for the test last 2 winters, he thinks the best time is before it gets below 50. And then we have ran sensors on these last winter, and on a sunny day when it's 40 degrees outside, on your top box, it can be 60, 70, even 80 sometimes in the top box.
So when we're talking about air circulation, because were you guys here last month? And we
No.
talked
So
about
that was actually a different
Different group.
group that came
okay.
here. I do know them, working on
Okay.
different projects. So.
Okay, yeah, and we talked about different lids and insulation up there. Does it matter what kind of lid? Because I was running migratory and I did want lots of insulation up top. But now I'm trying to, or lots of circulation, now I'm trying to
Yeah.
stop that
Yeah.
with what
So,
technique I'm using this year.
Basically, whatever you guys have been using in the past, this would just be kind of a leg up in the way that this is going to direct more warm air into your hive, lower the humidity, keep your bees dry through the winter.
I'll try it
so-
on one of my hives.
Okay, yeah, that
Okay.
sounds great. But yeah, so you guys are more than welcome to come ask us afterward.
Okay.
One thing we think that this invention is really, really good for is for hives that might not make it or that we have a feeling wouldn't make it going into the winter, it gives them a little bit more of a chance.
Is there a chance of it being too hot?
So, no, typically. So we've had this on bees and tested up to 130 degrees. And above 130 degrees, you'll start to see wax melt, and that's not great. But as long as you're not leaving it on in the dead of summer, it doesn't get that hot.
Does it get extra cold at night with that air getting in there?
So,
Because the mesh is lower than where your bees will be sitting at night, first off, the cold air would have to go up through this and then in through the mesh and down, so it can't do that kind of circulation, right?
It's warm air.
Because it only directs warm air. Exactly.
Yeah.
Physics won't let the cold air rise through
because
this
the
anyway. so-
convection is going to pull the air in only when this air is
It's
getting warm and causing movement. So,
Okay.
It's got
Yeah.
mesh, so it keeps the
And it-
critters
yes.
stuff out.
Keeps
Does it
keeps
matter
critters out.
The orientation?
so we have a couple of best practices of where you'd want this pointing at. I think right now what we've decided is northbound because you want
Southbound.
Southbound.
Yeah.
Because in the morning you want the sun to hit your.
Warm sun.
Yep. So your bees can have a little bit of recovery from a cold night.
Yeah.
I once read a study about artificial heating, putting
Yep.
just heaters around it, and the conclusion was if you put artificial heat on there, it keeps the bees out of the state of torpor, and so they actually eat more honey during that period. Is that a concern?
So the good news about that is because of how natural this is, it is just convection based. We're not pumping artificial heat, at least not in a large scale, into the hive. So this does a great job because you're not necessarily flattening the curve to keeping your bees at 80 or 90 degrees throughout the entire winter, which in that case they would eat a lot more food. This is more flattening the curve. So instead of going down to 30 degrees or down to 20 degrees, you'll get down to 50 and then during the day get up to 70. Does that make sense?
It just
So
it mimics more natural patterns. So they are breaking cluster more, but hopefully it's more in a good way, so they can do their cleansing flights and stuff easier and faster without expending more energy than necessary. The fear that we have had, and again, this is all being tested, so we don't actually know all the answers, but the fear that we have had is if you put it on too early, that then the bees wouldn't cull and get down to their winter numbers. So that is why you don't want to do it too early, but you don't want to do it too late. So these are all things
But
we're playing with.
our decision right now with Steve, I don't know, anyways, is mid-November seems like kind of a sweet spot for putting it on. But
Yeah.
But yeah, so if you guys are interested, please come talk to us afterward. We'd love to get your contact and your number, and we have a bunch in the car to hand out to you guys today, and we'll get some directions over to you guys via email.
Sweet. Thank you so much for letting us show us.
Okay, take a few, come up and talk to Mike, and then we'll get into elections.
My dad has a whole bunch of boxes with frames, deeps that he's selling. So some of them, I don't even think some of the frames have been used. He's just moving from deeps to mediums.
Anyway.
And so if anybody's interested in buying some deeps and or frames, let me know.
Did you guys hear that in the back?
Yeah.
Somebody has
Sorry.
deep frames for sale.
Hydrochloric acid and
So if you're interested,
Yep.
come
See Janelle.
see Janelle. So, look, we kind of want to get out of here, so
556-4890.
we need a president. Any volunteers? Any volunteers? For president of the association.
I have a nomination. I'll nominate Shelley.
I'll do it if you do the taxes.
Wow, okay, there you go.
My uncle.
Who's doing the taxes?
Usually the bookkeeper does the taxes.
She hasn't ever done it,
My
the
uncle lives
taxes.
in Mount Pleasant.
Supposed to.
She hasn't.
Well, there's not, it's not hard.
Okay.
I've done the taxes for an audit.
I know, so
Okay.
you're gonna do them?
So, anybody have any objections, Shelley? Anybody?
She'll be great.
She'll be great, but now we need to have a great team behind her,
Yes.
okay?
I am not gonna do it if we don't have.
We need a great team behind her, okay? And it doesn't take a lot of time. It's actually kind of fun to do. Okay, we now need a vice president to work along with Shelley. Anybody feel the urge to raise their hand or to nominate?
Will Gordon do it?
Gordon Lassett.
I would nominate Gordon.
I second Gordon.
You want to write that down? And then just tell Gordon he got nominated and
elected.
Okay. One of the ones we really do need really bad is a secretary / treasurer.
Jen said she would do it.
Oh, Jen said she would do it again?
Yep.
Okay, Jen.
I know, so Jen, but if somebody is really skilled at Excel,
She would
and-
probably appreciate the help.
But if you want to do it, she, I'm sure, would not mind giving it up, but it is a lot of bookkeeping and a lot of coordination with the people that do the newsletter, with Mike with swarms, with membership, collecting dues.
I will say this, it's not every part of the association doesn't take a lot except for that one. That one is a lot of work.
So, think about that one for a little bit. We need a media coordinator.
And I nominate Dan.
I nominate Daniel. So Daniel, thank you. I would nominate myself again, but I nominated myself for 2 years as president. So maybe down the line, we'll see what comes up. So now we need a swarm coordinator.
Yes.
I nominate Mike.
Okay, we have a swarm coordinator.
Newsletter.
Newsletter, we missed newsletter.
Laura has done it. She said she would still do it, but if somebody has a penchant for writing and including monthly things about beekeeping in our newsletter, and has a desire to help do that, I don't think it takes a lot of time.
Terry?
I'll help her. I'll help her.
You'll help her? Do you
Wait.
Oh, you mean, you want somebody to do it, period?
She would do it, but do you want to do
You wanna do it again?
No, I'll help her though.
We'll give him something else.
Okay.
Would that be okay?
We might have something else.
We might have something else for you. Okay, Farm Field Days. Farm Field Days.
I know, Cole.
We'll do that. Cole will do that again.
Cole
Thank
and
you,
Kylie.
Cole and Kylie, thank you. You guys are the best. Hopefully I get a little more time this next. Okay, Bab.
Janelle, you do BAB again?
Are you okay to do Bab again?
Janelle and I did BAB this year and I thought it went really well, so if there's somebody that can help
Thank you.
with BAB.
And thank you to the amazing Bab kids.
Bab.
I know there are some here. Thank you for coming to the meetings.
Yes.
Thank you for being a part of this. And not,
It's what?
Just in calling right now.
He's a bishop.
Oh.
So,
Okay,
like-
never mind.
I can do BAB.
Good and
okay,
clear.
we have Bab.
Well,
Do anything.
Splash, Shelley.
Kelly and I will be president and BAB together.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go.
A deal.
Okay.
Oh, we need a BAB youth leader. That's a new
Ammon.
position. Ammon, that's kind of for
I'll
you to.
support Ammon in that.
Okay.
Okay.
Tag team on that.
So what our idea with Ammon is that to have him help do the BAB Youth, not only the newsletter, but on Facebook input, and also on our webpage of having a spot on there that he can do that. And these young people are so adept at media and video and putting together all of these presentations that I just see us building upon what we've got going. And anyway, thank you, Ammon, we really want
Also
to.
code a little bit, if that helps.
It does.
That helps. Okay, I skipped one, sorry.
What?
Mentor east and west, east of the lake and west of the lake.
All right,
We lost Ron, who
Yes.
was doing east of the lake.
yes.
East and west of what?
The I-15, before we were kind of doing north and south, but we had so many people out on that side with Saratoga Spring, Eagle Mountain, and a lot of people out there. And so I'm even envisioning, even if we had somebody over there, have somebody over here, and even somebody on the south side. Bruce, I know, is down in Springville, and he probably can help us do south. So I nominate Bruce for south.
Oh, let's add south, I only have.
Yeah.
I can help Bruce with that.
So Chris and Bruce on the side, and
I could help out there.
so.
You're on the east side or west side?
No, he'd be, I know, so what if we did you with kind of north?
Say it again.
If we had to do,
I'm in Pleasant Grove,
I
so-
know. Okay,
Okay, west, I nominate your son, but
I know, he isn't here, so.
he isn't here, but I nominate this.
Alright.
I nominate Caleb because he lives in Saratoga Springs.
Okay,
So he'll hate me for that, but that's okay.
He's been volunteered.
Voluntold.
Voluntold, excuse me.
We need somebody to help with the picnic.
and I don't think it's a big deal, it's just helping get, with the board, deciding on what day. We kind of jerked things around this last year, what days we were doing it. And then Terry in the past has done the silent auction. Anyway, so it's just having somebody be responsible for that we don't.
Sam has done the reservation of the park.
Janelle did.
Oh, you did this, okay.
She's been doing it for several years.
Oh,
Well, I'll do the silent auction again next year.
Okay.
Okay, so put him picnic.
Okay.
Pardon?
Picnic, your picnic.
No, I'm silent auction.
Silent auction.
too late.
Same thing. That's one day, Terry. It's one day.
Part of it.
It's one day.
And then we need
Okay,
to,
we need,
the webmaster.
right, webmaster.
I'll do the webmaster. Since I've been working with Scott with everything,
So Scott
and
and
once we move
Chris.
on, we can tag team that out.
You can be the webmaster now, is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Chris and Scott. Everybody gets a job, by the way. I don't, all these people who are quiet. Okay, we still need, oh, this is a big one.
So the beginner class.
Beginner class.
It's the first Saturday in March.
If I'm in town, I will help with this beginner.
So the beginner class basically is not that you're going to be doing it all by yourself. It's kind of like what Cole does with Farm Field Days. You coordinate it, go through all the slides, make sure everything's ready to go, have the IT stuff with the PowerPoint ready to go. And then we've always split it up in different sections and then had different people teaching to
Right.
that. So you want that?
I don't know if I'm gonna, my schedule,
That
travel
first
schedule
weekend in
is-
March?
I'll have to look. Okay, we also need somebody to keep spinners.
We got a volunteer right back here.
I'm never here the first week of March.
You don't have to be here the first week of March, you just have to help organize the people that are here.
And be available for questions.
No, I'm serious.
Oh, I thought that was for spinner. How many spinners do we need to find a home for?
There's 3 of them.
There's 3, I have them at I have 2 at my house.
But we've got to coordinate so that they get out and get back and make sure that they're taken care of.
I can do that in the fall when it, like,
All right.
perhaps you can move me.
Okay.
Unless somebody else wants to do that.
Okay, beginner class is still open.
I could
Oh.
probably do
I could probably,
that. I could do beginner.
Okay.
okay, thanks, Mike. And then I could do East Mentor.
Okay.
Well, you're never in town.
That's why it's
See, he's volunteering for a job he can't do.
Trust me, we have to change a little bit of the mentoring program. What else was there?
Is that it?
Newsletter.
So Laura said she would do it, so if we put newsletter and put Terry helping her with it.
Okay, and I can help with treasurer stuff.
Okay.
I can help with,
If you can
spreadsheets.
help with, you know,
I can help with
the
treasury
finances kind of thing, I think that would be a help to her, just especially in the, I don't, and I guess you've already been doing it with taxes and stuff.
I've done taxes for a nonprofit before, so I'll help her with that, secretary.
One thing I'm gonna mention is anybody that is on the west side that is wanting to do swarms next year, I'm just gonna toss this out right now. I had like 2 names covering the west side. So, belly up to the bar. Give me your phone number.
Okay, so
Next year, we can cross that bridge down the road.
this looks like a really good board, Shelley.
Shelley,
Yes. We just need, I need phone numbers on the back of there, and then I will let you know when we're doing our board meeting.
And we appreciate you guys being part and coming every month. You know, it's hard to make that commitment. If you know new beekeepers out there that can use this, tell them to sign up and get on the website and let's get more new people signed up to help. And
That'd be
those who
important.
haven't volunteered to help, you might be, just asked to help some way. Any little bit helps. Even if it's like to help teach a class, if it's to do a presentation, to tell about your bees, how they're doing.
Well, and being on the board too, it's not just that you have that assignment. As we sit and we talk around with each other, we look at the different needs of our association. And, Daniel has brought up about having things for experienced beekeepers. So there are things that we need to do to keep drawing people back in besides the new beekeepers. In January, this place is packed because everybody's that are getting into bees want to know what they need to be doing. So we address a lot of things with new beekeepers, but to keep people coming, we need to also be doing more advanced things so that the seasoned beekeepers are still interested. And BYU guys, we would love to have you do a presentation and bring, your little group and just talk to us about some research that's going on, especially around here. That's probably interesting to a lot of us.
Could we have the media group make some little tiny posters that we could put up at IFA and Cal Ranch and Tractor Supply in the spring, and that advertises the group?
Daniel's really good
Now,
with graphics. Even if you send it to me, I can get them printed and get them out.
I'm gonna put one more plug in. I know all of these have positions, but if you just want to volunteer to be on the board to help come up with ideas and.
How about somebody to coordinate what's happening each month?
That's
Finding the speaker and.
that's vice president.
Okay.
And people don't know, but that was what Gordon did in his lifetime before, is he coordinated pretty big medical conferences and coordinated out-of-state speakers to come into medical conferences and setting all of that up. So that is a talent that he has, experience.
I was gonna say, yeah, on that paper, get a piece of paper, and anybody here, let's get your numbers so we can, we have.
If you have.
Whether it's just help set
Even
up.
if it's just a general interest to be part of what's going on,
Or maybe your skill set.
Or you have a expertise to come teach something and want to share that. Okay.
Well, I want to thank everybody who was on the board last
Well, we
year.
want to thank you. I didn't
Yes.
say you and Chris. Thank you for doing
Well, I
that.
feel like I let down a little bit. So just so you know, the association did also buy, you guys put that receipt in, flowers for,
I did.
okay, so we also bought flowers for Lee Knight. So don't forget, if you want to donate a little bit, Janelle's back there taking cash or Venmo or check. Good looks don't work, I heard, but we appreciate you guys attending. We appreciate all that you do, and appreciate everybody who's volunteered to present to the group. It's been a privilege to be the president, and it's been a privilege to be around you guys who have the same passion for bees as anybody else out there. So thank you very much. Go ahead.
Can we get this on the website or on the Facebook? What we talked about here, who's in what position?
Yes, I'll put the new board. I'll put
If
the
somebody,
new-
yeah, we need to figure out.
I'll put the new board out there.
You put it out.
To everybody.
Again, anybody have any thoughts, interests, and ideas with our webpage? We're trying to gather as much information as we can to make it our webpage. Again, pictures, if people have pictures of their stuff they've done this year, please send them in to us so we can get them put on the webpage.
And BYU group, if you want to, add things into the newsletter, that would be great. That would be great to have you guys have a part of the newsletter. So we'll get you the name of the person, the phone number for the person, and you can, send her something every month. Just
They should use this as a portal to
Question
advertise
on
and
how to get
document.
stuff and pictures and stuff in, if you send them to the association's email address, that way we have access to everything right there that we can go from there with them.
thank you, and everybody have a great night and drive safe home. Thank you. Thank you.